Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of Beyond Boardroom Business. I'm your host, Coach Stephanie, and tonight I am so thrilled to have an amazing trailblazer here. And we are just going to go over all of the wonderful things that he has done over the lifespan of his business. And so, without further ado, let me bring in Mr. Gene Rice. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, Stephanie, and thank you very much for having me on your show.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I mean, your bio just blew me away, and I just had to have you here. So, if we can just decide by starting off with who is Mr. Gene Rice?
Well, because it's beyond the boardroom, I'll start with my business background. uh,
Okay.
my career has been very eclectic, Stephanie. I started off in college. I went to St. John's in New York. Started off tending bar. Then I ended up managing a rock and roll club, and then I ended up owning a rock and roll club. And it was an unbelievable opportunity. We happened to have an idea that was unique. It was out in Long Island. We were the first club that booked only original music. So we didn't care what kind of music you played as long as it was your own. And we had live music 7 nights a week. And then we'd bring in a couple of times a month national recording acts. Like we had Bo Diddley, who I became friendly with, Richie Havens, Cyndi Lauper, the Ramones, Joan Jett. This group of Stray Cats actually started in my club. It was a wonderful, wonderful, a lot of fun, Stephanie. But then I found the woman I fell in love with, and I proposed to her, and she said, "The only way I'll marry you if you get out of this business." So I had to make a decision right then and there. So I said, "Yeah." I left the business, and thank God I did. I'd be dead right now if I stayed in it. But I started with an international Fortune 100 firm, a firm called Alcatel. At that time, one of the biggest telecommunications companies in the world. They were out of France. Started in sales, quickly moved into sales management out of New York. Then I took over my first office in Long Island. Then I went to New Jersey as the general manager. Then I became district manager of New Jersey and Philadelphia. And my last position with them was heading up East Coast operations. We had offices in every major city up and down the East Coast. I had over 1,500 people reporting to me directly or indirectly. It was a wonderful, wonderful career. I really liked the company. However, at that time, I had a young family, and I was living on an airplane, Stephanie. I was in a different city every single day. It wasn't unique for me to be in 2 cities on one day. And I just wanted to get off the road. I wanted to be home at night. So I took my number one general manager at the time, and we started a executive retained search firm that became one of the largest in the U.S. called Rice Cohen International.
Yes.
Went into that business because I had used a number of the big search firms to hire my staff, and I thought we could bring some value to it. What I didn't realize is what happened as a result. And I wasn't doing it for any financial reasons because I was being compensated very well. Okay. But the firm just exploded. But what ended up happening is I found my purpose and my passion. What I really, really enjoyed every day was I put in my career over 1,000 C-level executives, CEOs, presidents, chief operating officers. My staff did like tens of thousands. I never wanted to stop working with the candidates and the clients. We worked with a lot of the private equity firms, the venture firms starting out. I really enjoyed that piece. And that's one of the things I talk about all the time, Stephanie. I think one of the goals in life is to find something that you sincerely love doing and then doing it well enough that you can earn a living doing it. Because if you can find that, my own experience is your health is better, your personal relationships are better, the glass isn't half full, the glass can be overflowing. Yes. And that I can see you, and I watched a couple of your podcasts, and I can see that you found that in what you're doing. So I congratulate you for that, because there is a lot of people that have never found it. Stephanie, I'll tell you this. The conference board does a survey every year. where they interview thousands of C-level executives.
Mm.
One of the questions they ask them is, do you have any job satisfaction in what you do? Now, these aren't six-figure executives. Some of them could be eight figures, seven-figure executives. 53% last year said they had no job satisfaction. So what does that mean?
Wow.
They wake up every morning and they go and do something for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's sad, and that's, I'll just add one other thing. For the last 25 years at my company, Cohen International, every summer we bring in 4 college interns. And these college interns, we pay them well, so we get some really high-level candidates. And I've always felt if they're going to be in my office, I need to spend time with them. So it started off once a week is Gene's life lessons, things that I wish I knew when I was going into my senior year in college, right? And what grew out of it was all of their questions. And one was a really sad thing is I can't tell you how many of them went on to be lawyers, accountants, doctors. I had an MBA player. And they came back to me years later and would tell me how unhappy they are in their job. And I'm going to give you 2 examples.
Okay.
2 of them went on to 2 of the best law schools in America. One went to NYU and one went to Boston College. One of them took $100,000 in loans to go through law school.
Wow.
They both graduated in the top 25% of their class. They came out and they went to work with big law firms. They were paid very well, but had no life. And within 2 years, 3 years, they came to me and said, I hate what I'm doing.
Mm.
And I think that's so sad, right? That is so sad. And when I asked them, what made you go in that direction? Someone influential in their life said, hey, you could be a good lawyer, right? You could do this, you could do that. And you'd make a lot of money. Well, the billable hours, it's very different. My daughter, Courtney, who I wrote the book Grad to Grown Up with, it was a Lehigh grad, right? And her senior year, she, great student, like a 3.92 GPA, double major in English and economics. She thought she wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And I said, Courtney, before you go in that direction, let's see if we can reach out and find a law firm that you can come in and get some experience, get some hands-on experience. So I helped her write the email, Stephanie. And, it was very key. It's easy to get an internship if you say, I have a passion for this. Can I come in and work for free this summer? The key word is free. People will take you in if you say you'll work for free. Well, we found a small law firm where we live in Philadelphia. And one of the partners took her in for the summer and exposed her to every facet of being a lawyer. Took her into the courtroom 3 times, all the administrative work, the research piece. And the end result, at the end of it, she came to me and she said, Dad, I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. I said, thank God, because I was going to pay for it. I was going to pay for most of it, right? And she always had a passion for teaching. But she thought coming out of Lehigh, Stephanie, all of her friends were going into investment banking or management consulting or law schools. She thought being a teacher would be a step below. And I said, Court, let me tell you something. One of the goals is to find something you love doing and doing it well enough that you can make a living. She's been a high school English teacher now for over 10 years. She absolutely loves what she does. She goes into that classroom every day, Stephanie, and she's so happy. And that's why, for your listeners, I really encourage them to find something that they love doing and figure out a way to make a living doing it. And I'll just share one last thing on this topic. There was a survey done of 100 people that work in hospice. These are people that are working every day with people on their deathbed, right?
Right.
And they asked them, was there any regrets from the people that you worked with? If you asked them any regrets, the number one regret all of these people dying shared was I wish I followed my dreams, not someone else's dreams for me.
Mm.
Right? Just think of that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm telling you, I placed over 1,000 C-level executives. If I showed you their resume, Stephanie, you would say to me, "Oh my God, how successful is this person? Oh, I can't believe this." Well, if you got to know them the way I did, a number of them are on third marriages. They haven't been to their son's little league game
Yeah.
in a long time. They missed the piano recitals.
Mm.
Yes, they're very, very successful in business, but in my opinion, they're not successful in life.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
So I don't know if you know anyone like that, but that's been my
Yes.
experience. And the executives from my end of it that were the most successful, the ones that figured it out. They figured it out. Not only were they successful in the business world, but they were successful in their home life,
Right.
you know,
Yes.
in their
Yes.
personal life,
Yes.
you
That's
know.
that's a great point, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you can feel fulfilled and within your work, you more than likely will feel fulfilled at home. That's beautiful. I love
Yeah,
that.
I mean, and not enough people talk about this, you know, especially with the young executives coming up, you know. So I'm a firm believer, like I said, I encourage these young people. Like, I'll give you an example. I was working with a school, and this one young lady said to me, "I want to be a vet." I said, "Well, do you have any hands-on experience?" No.
Right.
I said, "Well, listen, see if we can find you a free internship so you get some before you take those college loans, because becoming a vet, there's some schooling there." And
Yes.
she found a veterinarian that would take her in for the summer. And at the end of it, she sent me an email and she says, "I am so happy. I am
Mm.
so looking forward to being a vet." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Well, now you know for sure. Take those college loans. Go do it, right?
right.
Because you're going to be happy. You found something that will give you purpose in life,
Yeah.
which is
Yes.
really, really important, you know?"
I love that. I love that you give them an opportunity to get their hands wet before they invest in it, which so
Yeah.
many people do. Yes. But let me ask you, how did you get started? When did you realize the leadership within you?
It's funny, I'll tell you, I'll go back a step further before I went into management and leadership. I was on a show and a radio show, and they were asking me, you obviously started in sales. You were very successful. When did you know that you were any good in sales? And no one had ever asked me that question, Stephanie. And I went back and I thought about it. When I was young, I mean, I came from a family of 6 kids. I mean, we weren't poor, but I mean, there was no extra money, right? I mean, if I wanted something, I had to work for it. So I had a paper route.
Right.
I had a paper route. And in the paper route, what they would do is they would have these contests, right? If you got 2 new subscriptions, you might be able to go to a New York Yankees game, right?
Okay.
And I would always get those. And then finally, the general manager came to me and said, "Listen, when was the best time to sell a new subscription for the paper? Is when someone moved in to the neighborhood."
Right.
He says, "You're pretty good at this. So what I'm going to do is, no matter who moves into anyone's territory, I'm going to give you 2 days to see if you can sell a new subscription. If after 2 days, then I have to give it to the person whose route it is." And I would drive around on my bicycle, Stephanie, and I was selling these subscriptions. I never missed the contest. And I'm like, that probably should have been the first sign, right?
Right. Exactly.
I always approached anything I did as if it was my own business. I had a million part-time jobs coming up, but in the club business, I started managing. The first bar I had, I was a bartender. Then it expanded. They asked me to manage the club. Then it expanded 2 more times, and it became like the hottest club. We were doing live radio broadcasts from there, live music 7 nights a week. And then I was going to leave to open up my own place. They came to me and said, "Hey, we don't want you to leave. We'll give you 1/3 of this place. We'll let you, pay your 1/3 back. And they kind of retired, and basically I ran the whole thing. Then I eventually left and opened my second club with my brother. But I always just enjoyed leading people. I always felt that, was one of the things. I spoke to a woman yesterday who it was her 92nd birthday. At Alcatel, when I went to New Jersey, they wanted me to fire her. And I said, she was like probably, I don't know, 25 years older than me. And I said, no, I want to go in and work with her. I don't want to fire anyone until I have a chance to work with them. Right?
Nice.
And I want to give them every chance. And I went in and worked with her. I said, wow, they're missing something. This lady's a star. And she went on and ended up promoting her 4 times at Alcatel, and I just enjoyed helping people, I enjoyed helping them be successful. And at Alcatel, as a GM, I would go in and say, listen, who's your 5 biggest prospects? Let me go out and help you. Maybe I can add some value. I enjoyed the clients, but I enjoyed showing them how to be successful. And if you can show people that work for you how to be successful, and they get a sense that you really care about them,
yes,
that person will go through a brick wall for you, Stephanie.
Yes, most definitely.
That person will go through a brick wall.
Wow, this is amazing. So can you tell us about your book?
Yeah. The book is called Grad to Grown Up. A lot of it was based on all these interns I was working with, all these lessons I was sharing with them. They kept saying, hey, can you put this in a book? I'm like, all right. But the book is something that I'm just really, really surprised how well it sold. The publisher, the agent, the thing just took off. And it's broken down into 5 parts. So it starts off where basically I talk about things like, what's your foundation? What will you go to war for? What do you believe in? I talk about things like how important it is to seek out the oldest person in the room. How many young people, Stephanie, they don't know what they're missing. There's so much wisdom there, and they're not even talking to their grandparents. So I share with them the questions that they should ask, right? And I can give you some. I got a great email from a lawyer in New York who actually read the book, and he goes, I read that chapter about talking to the oldest person in the room. I just finished 14 hours, right? When I came in, I wanted to get a bite to eat at this local restaurant by myself, and I noticed there's an old guy at the bar. So I sat down next to him, ordered the beer, and I started asking him some of your questions. 2.5 hours later, I left, and it was one of the most interesting conversations. The older gentleman, I guess, was a retired senior writer from the Johnny Carson show. And he was telling him about all the guests he had and stuff like that. But it goes into, and then it's the job search, It takes them through exactly what their resume should be like, how to increase the number of interviews they're on, how to dress for success, and then the 5 steps of how to become a grand master of interviewing. So when you find that job you really want, they're going to be interviewing other good candidates, how you separate yourself so you can get it. Then it goes into career. Okay, now you got the job. How do you show up? Right. A lot of these young people don't know how to show up. I tell them, you got to take the stairs. What is it? There's no elevator to success. No. What does that mean? Well, you're going to have to show up every day and get your hands dirty, right? Yeah. There's no elevator. Yes. And then I talk about finance, how I created great wealth, little things that can help them, understanding their credit score, credit cards. If you're going to move out, budget. And then I end up with, the last section, which is health and relationships. I talk about, marry the right person, leave your baggage behind, right? It's a chapter on everybody has baggage, right? Now, where does the baggage come from? Everyone's raised differently, right? I don't know about you, but I was raised a little dysfunctionally, right?
Okay.
And a lot of these people take it on from generation to generation. And when I try to coach people around, Stephanie, identify those things in your upbringing that you're really proud of, those things that you really want to embrace, okay? And you hold on to them. But also, what are some of the things you'd like to leave behind that you don't want to take on to the next generation? And make that you first have to identify. You can't have change without awareness. Those things that you don't want your children to be exposed to, identify
Yes.
them and come up with a plan to make sure the trauma stops, right? So
Mm.
there's, and when you sit down, you talk to people, everyone's got something. But
Yeah.
if you don't watch it, you ended up passing it on,
Right.
right? so,
Yes.
so there's 68 chapters like that. And it's just, the stuff I've gotten and the feedback I've gotten from and the reviews I've gotten, I'm really happy I did it. And I
Oh,
wrote it with my daughter, who's the English teacher, because then
okay.
she keeps me in line. She's the younger generation. You know,
Right.
so
That's
she gives a
right.
different perspective on it, Stephanie. You know,
That's pretty
but
good.
yeah. So I just want those are the questions. Those are the things I want to share with your audience. Uh, I want people to find things that they really love doing and then making a living doing it. They're going to be happier. And I
Yes.
want them to encourage young people to make sure before they take any college loans that they go out there and they get some hands-on experience, right?
Yes.
I try to coach them. I had a young man this summer in the internship program who went to a really, really expensive college
Mm.
and didn't have a clue what he wanted to do when he entered
Oh,
there
oh no.
and took all these college loans.
Oh
And I'm
man.
like, he goes, well, I just wanted, to know, make sure I went to a good school. I'm like, listen, you could have went to a junior college.
Mm.
You would have paid 1/10 the price you paid.
Ooh,
You would
wait.
have figured out in those 2 years really what you wanted to do.
Right.
Then you could transfer to a 4-year school. And if, you know what, when you graduate from that 4-year school, you don't even have to put the junior college on your resume if you don't want to. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. Wow.
But you'd have half the loans,
Yeah. Half the
This
money
person
back.
is going to have $1,100 a month in loans for the
Oh
next
my
15 years. I'm like, oh my,
God. That
you
sounds
know,
like a setup. Woo.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Look, that is very unfortunate, and there's so many people that make that mistake, and that's why it's really good that you have created that book to help save some people from falling into that pitfall. So thank you for that. Now, tell us about your nonprofit organization with your wife.
yeah. I used to be on the board of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? And
Okay.
I got a lot of exposure to a lot of the sick kids. But I also got exposure to, at that time, something happened that really gave us the idea, Stephanie.
Okay.
My wife and I would actually take the kids on their wishes, which we loved. We'd interview them and then we'd take them on their wishes. This one young man, his wish was to go on a shopping spree. So
Oh,
we picked him up, right? He was being raised by his great grandmother, him and
whoa.
his brother, his great grandmother. She was 88 years old.
Oh,
We
wow.
picked him up on a limousine and we took him and his younger brother, who was 10 years old at the time, the boy was 12, to a shopping mall. And as we're driving, his younger brother keeps talking about baseball, 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 the Phillies, the Phillies. And we went in, and first of all, one of the things about Make-A-Wish is everything's got to be around the child who's six wish. So this boy was coming with buying him bicycles, clothes. We got his brother stuff. My wife and I took care of that. But the kid just stopped talking about baseball. And I said, "Do you play baseball?" No, I never been allowed to play baseball. And
Wow.
I talked to the great grandmother, and I said, "He obviously loves it. Can we, So I got him a mitt and a bat and a ball." She goes, "We just don't have the money to even sign him up for Little League."
Oh, wow.
And I said to my wife, you know, his brother was sick, and obviously Make-A-Wish stepped in for him. But there should be a charity that helps someone like his brother, who has a real passion, but doesn't have the financial resources to pursue that passion.
Beautiful.
So we started the charity, and like I told you, we are up to 889 kids. And when I tell you, their passions are different. I don't know about you, Stephanie. I always ask people, when you were young, what was the thing that really got you up in the morning? Like, my son was a basketball player, right? Well, when he got married 3 years ago, his best man and three of his ushers were young men that he played travel and AAU basketball with since fourth grade.
Wow.
He was late for everything, Stephanie, but for basketball practice, come on, Dad, I want to get there early. I want to get there early. Right? And what did those passions do? Well, it could be, the only ray of sunshine on a cloudy day for a young person, right?
That's right.
It connects them, depending on the passion, with like-minded kids, so friendships develop, like my son's. If you get the right coach or the right piano teacher or the right cooking instructor, you put positive mentors into their lives. And my son and my daughters, their lives would be different if they didn't have that thing they were passionate about. I had one daughter that never found her thing, and she's the one out of my four kids, Stephanie, that probably struggled the most during those teenage years and stuff. So my wife and I don't want any young person whose family might be having a hard time financially not to pursue their passion. So we got them into dance, into cheer, every musical instrument, every sport. Yeah. We have someone cooking, right? We have someone cooking. We have art classes. And what's great, because we've been doing it now since 2008, we started off helping the whole country. But then my wife and I, we wanted to meet each kid. We personally self-funded. We wanted to meet each kid. We wanted to get to know them. So now it's from Philadelphia to Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay.
Right, in that area, right? So, like this week, we have 49 different kids going out doing activities, and it's just, it's wonderful. I mean, every time we meet one of these young people, I walk out of there, my wife and I will say, we've gotten so much more out of this than we've given,
Yes.
And anyone, if you go and you buy Grad to Grown Up, you can get it, the audio version, you can get the ebook, or you can buy it from Amazon. Any money I make from this gets donated right to the charity. So it goes to help more kids, which is important. And that's something that, we get more out of it than we give, Stephanie. So thank you for asking me about that.
Wow. Of course. Is there anything else on your bucket list that you haven't?
Well, let me share something with you, which I think might help your audience. Because of the title, Beyond the Boardroom, I sat on a number of boards, Stephanie. I've placed a number of executives on board positions.
Yes.
The best advice I can give you, all right, is the boards that I've enjoyed the most and the boards where I contributed the most is when I really enjoyed and liked the other board members. I had a couple of boards where I was like, whoa, I'm not on the same page, or this person, why are they on this board? They don't seem to want to do anything. You know what I mean? So I always encourage, before anyone accepts a board position, to make sure you spend time with the other board members and make sure you feel like, hey, if I had to go out and break bread with this person, would that be something I would dread doing, or would it be something I would enjoy doing and look forward to doing? Okay. So that's a piece of advice I'll share just on my own experience.
That's great. That's great advice.
I had one board, well, I'll tell you, I had these two. I had a lawyer and an accountant. They were just like partners, junior partners. And every time, we needed someone to do something, they never raised their hand. Finally, I grabbed them. I said, why are you guys on this board? Well, we were told if we really wanted to become a partner, we had to get on a board like this. And I'm like, but you're not doing it. You're not contributing anything, right? You should step up. If you're not going to step up, let someone else take the seat.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Yes, because it takes everyone. Yes, beautiful. Yeah. Well, awesome. I really enjoyed this conversation. And is there anything else you would like to say in closing?
I will tell you right now, I'm going to get off this interview and my wife's going to say I talk too much. So, Stephanie, I apologize in advance.
Not at all. You did fine.
Follow your dreams, follow your passions, and it's never too late to find that thing that you love doing and making a career out of it. Okay?
Yes, yes, and I totally agree. That's my lifestyle. I love this. I would love for you to come back in the future so I can see what's going on in your world and just touch base. Is that okay with you?
I would I would welcome the opportunity. I love your orchid, by the way. I always give my wife an orchid for her birthday and Mother's Day and stuff. So I love them. That one's done well.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
You take care of
Okay.
yourself. I love what you're doing, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. I truly have. And I mean, Mr. Rice is genuinely a very nice gentleman. I mean, he is definitely sincere. I can feel it. I definitely encourage you to purchase his book. It's on Amazon. I encourage you to follow his foundation. Just if you need a job, make sure you get in contact with Mr. Rice, Mr. Gene Rice. Thank you all again for being here on Beyond Boardroom Business. Again, I'm your host, Coach Stephanie, and I am here every Thursday night on my social platforms, um, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm going to be on LinkedIn. I look forward to more interviews, and thank you all again. Until the next time, stay powerful, stay present, and stay prayerful. Peace.